All right. What is going on, everybody? Thank you for clicking on this video. Hopping back to the lunch table. I'm Big Teist, joined as always by my esteemed colleagues in business. Got Dilly, Saya, Trevin Bush, Dimaj. How's everybody doing?
Wonderful.
Fantastic.
Glad to hear it. Got another big week in the sports world here. Not our biggest week, but still got some very meaningful basketball going on in the NBA, more specifically the conference finals. And obviously we got a fan of each of the Eastern teams represented here in this pod. So I'll send it to Saya and Dimaj to start. How are we both feeling respectively about this 2-2 series?
Personally, I'm feeling pretty good. You know, both teams snuck a game in away, winning in the other team's house. So home court advantage is back to the higher seed, aka the Heat. But overall, I'm enjoying this series so far. I would say it's a great series.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree. I mean, there was definitely a lot to be said about each team. The Heat have snuck in 2 games. I'm not going to try and take anything from the Heat, but it's one of those things where you look at the box scores at each quarter and it's like, how are the Celtics only 2-2 right now? It should be easily 3-1 or when you look at the box scores, the Heat have only won 2 quarters. Have only won 2 quarters.
You want to start getting into box scores?
You can look at it all. In those 2 quarters, though, you've outscored us 46 points. That's the difference. And one of those games was the third quarter where you absolutely annihilated us in the first game. It's nothing to take away from the Heat. The Heat have played tremendous ball, but they've also had I feel like their highs have been very high and their lows have been very low, where the Celtics have kind of maintained a more consistent level of play, if that makes any more sense.
Before you hop on there real quick, I saw a stat that said the Celtics have only lost 3 quarters, and then every other quarter that they played throughout the whole playoffs, they've either won or they've tied. So they've technically only lost 3 quarters.
And it's nothing against the Heat. The Heat are an amazing team, and they finally got Kyle Lowry back. The team's looking good. I mean, last game, Jimmy was playing with a bum knee, basically. He had some injuries, but I mean, the same can be said about the Celtics last game as well, with Marcus Smart being out, Robert Williams not being 100% with his knee. There's a lot going on in this series, and I think we all expected it to come down to defense, which, I mean, it has. I mean, first game, the whole game turned around in the third quarter due to how well the Heat played defense. Same can be said in the third game and the fourth game, where you guys held the Celtics to 47 points in the first half. And in the fourth game, the Celtics held the Heat to a record low in the first 7 minutes with 1 point. And the first made field goal was a 3 by Victor Oladipo with 3 minutes and 22 seconds or something left in the first quarter. So there's been a lot of defensive highlights, and I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's grimy. It's old school basketball again, just like how it was with the Celtics Bucks last series. And it's just been fun to watch. I'm enjoying this series so much.
Here's what I'll say about the Celtics. And I agree. This series through 4 games looks very eerily similar to the Bucks Celtics series, just the back and forth. It's crazy to me how long the Celtics have gone without losing back-to-back games. But here's what would worry me a little bit about the Celtics if I were a Celtics fan, which, trust me, I'm not. And that would be that I feel like when the Celtics go through cold streaks, I saw it a little bit in the Milwaukee series, and I'm seeing a little bit now. It seems like they'll have really great fluent offense where they're finding open shooters and making shots. But then it seems like they'll almost go through these periods where they just forget their system and forget how to play offense. And it just gets very choppy where they're either putting up bad shots, missing, or just not taking as many 3-pointers. But then I feel like with the Bucks and also the Heat, when they go through their cold stretches, the way their offense moves doesn't really look like so drastically different. It's just that they're not hitting the shots that at other times they do hit, which is kind of weird. Like I haven't watched every second of every Celtics game these playoffs, but it seems like when I am watching, that's kind of the vibe I get, is like they'll almost go through these 5, 6, 7 minute periods in game where they're just like, they're not even like, it doesn't look like they're even trying to run that really efficient system that works for them.
No, you're completely right. I mean, it has been one of those cases where it has come down to just a lack of efficiency on offense. That's really been what the toll has been for the Celtics. And when you look at how the Heat have played, you're completely right on that aspect too. They haven't really changed the way they played at all. It's just whether or not they're hitting that night. And I feel like that's how they've kind of been the whole playoffs and even in the regular season. They're not a team that wows you in their half court offense. They're really amazing in their fast break opportunities and the defense that they play and the fast break opportunities that they get based off of that amazing defense that they play. So when they get into those half court offenses, it's not like they're running the most efficient offense. It's just whether or not they're going to be hitting their shots that night. The Celtics, on the other hand, is where it gets scary because it's not the same where they're consistently doing the same thing every night. One quarter, they look like a well-oiled machine and they're passing like they should. They're not trying to go for ISO ball and these one-on-ones that they're consistently going for. Because I understand Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are elite scorers. I mean, I don't think anything can be taken away from them. Jaylen Brown had the most efficient game in NBA history in the 2-point scoring and in the shot clock era. And yet nobody else was having a good game. And that's the issue. You can't have those one or two guys playing. And the Heat I think that's what makes the Heat so special, is that they have so many guys that are consistently scoring. It's not always on Jimmy Butler's shoulders to score. It feels more like Celtics. It's on Jason Tatum. And if Jason Tatum's off, it's going to be a rough night, even if Jaylen Brown has a good night too. It's just one of those things.
Since you wanted to bring up statistics and checking the box scores, I've gone through the liberty of checking out some box score stats that have stuck out to me in the series so far. And as a Heat fan, I'm slightly annoyed by it, but at the same time, when you go back home, these types of things are to be expected. And in games 1 and 2 in Miami, Boston has had a combined 45 fouls, 56 free throws, and Miami had 41 fouls, 56 free throws. You can say that's just about even, but but where the disparity is for me, and when you watched games 3 and game 4 in Boston, to me, it seemed like the refs were trying to really let the Celtics back into game 3, especially because that was when we didn't have Jimmy Butler for the second half. It was just an offensive masterclass by Bam that night. But in games 3 and 4, Boston had a combined 36 fouls, 68 free throws. Miami had 50 fouls and 28 free throws. Now, I understand that getting to the line is a skill, and you learn how to draw contact. But that seems, that's a little fishy for me, especially when we all know the infamous referee Scott Foster. Scott Foster's crew was officiating in game 4 and possibly in game 3. But personally, can't get too mad about it, because we didn't play well in game 4 at all. Obviously, you held us to 1 point throughout like 7 minutes. That was just awful. And I'd say that no Tyler Hero in game 4 really looked like it drained the Heat. Like, it didn't look like we were coming with any intensity, any direction in our half court offense. It looks like we were content with stealing game 3 and already willing to give game 4 up.
It's funny when you look at those two teams, and we are talking about Jason Tatum and Jimmy Butler. We talked about this before the playoffs, even this series basically even started. It was game 1 over. That was about it. And when you look at who's really been detrimental to these teams, I feel like it's those specific role players. I mean, right before we got on, I was talking about how I personally feel right now Robert Williams is the key to this series. I mean, you look at the one game he was out, Bam blew up, easily had his best game of the series. It was honestly, it was the
best, for sure. Best, 100%.
And he went insane. But with Robert Williams on the floor, even without being 100%, it still brought that intensity that the Celtics were looking for and allowed for them to play big on the inside. Without Robert Williams, you have Al Horford, who is not as athletic. He's aging. I understand he's still a good defender, but he's not Robert Williams. Robert Williams is a big man that is honestly eerily similar in play to Bam. They are very drastic defensively.
Yeah.
Offensively, Bam definitely has more of a jumper, but it's not like Bam's an elite shooter. They still both have great packages in terms of dunks and layups, but when looking at defensively, yes, they match up very well. And when you have players that match up well with each other, it allows them to basically cancel each other out. And without Robert Williams on that floor that night, it absolutely killed the Celtics. I mean, it was awful.
I'd say Robert Williams definitely had an effect, but I also would say that Bam's just got to be more aggressive, even with Robert Williams in the game, because even though they're practically similar in measurements, height, length, length, weight, but he only took, let's see here, he only took five shots in the entire game. Out of what you would hope to be your second all-star, second superstar on your team, second best player, you've got to have more shots than that. And when Dwayne Dedmon is taking one less shot than you coming off the bench, that's not a recipe for winning.
Oh yeah. Well, hey, from here on out, it is a best of 3 series.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Best 2 out of 3. And game 5 will be tonight at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time in Miami. Should be a good one. That pivotal game 5, which take it from me, winning game 5 ain't no guarantee on the series, but it does help. So we'll see about that. Switching gears over to the Western Conference. At the time we're recording this, the Warriors are up 3-0 on the Mavs. When it comes out, they'll either have won the series or be up 3-1. But there's currently actually, I don't know if anybody's seen this, there's a leak in the ceiling at the Warriors or wherever the game is at. I don't know if it's at the Mavs stadium. Yeah, there's a leak in the stadium, and so it's actually being delayed right now.
Yeah. Wow.
But the Warriors have kind of just dominated this series. I mean, Luka's doing his thing, but
I would say
that we could have seen this one coming.
Yeah, I would say that unlike Dallas versus Phoenix, and looking into this Dallas versus Golden State series, it's proven that obviously one player can only take you so far. You Dallas really took advantage of CP3 and Book not shooting well in the last couple games, but with this Warriors team and having Clay, having Wiggins, having Poole, having Curry, there's just too many threats. And it seems like Dallas has not been able to find out how to contain, I would say, at least 2 out of the 4 offensive threats on the Warriors.
Definitely right.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the Mavs are a good offensive team. They have a lot of people that can score. The issue is, and that's why I'm so confident in, honestly, either Eastern team that goes to the finals. I genuinely, me and my boy Harvey were talking, and we were talking about the Warriors, and I was like, the Warriors honestly don't scare me. I mean, I understand they have so much offensive firepower, but they've played teams that do not have great defenses. I mean,
individual and at that, individual defenders, because you could be great as a team, but individually they're not on par with either Eastern Conference team.
And that's the thing. Like it's been fun watching the West. All the offensive firepower I feel like is in the West. You watch the West to watch offense. The defensive side of the ball though is in the Eastern Conference. All the good teams in the Eastern Conference are because of their defense. And when you look at both teams that are left in the Eastern Conference with the Heat and the Celtics, they match up extremely well with the Warriors. With Marcus Smart or Kyle Lowry on Curry, I understand Curry can literally go off for 40 any night he wants to. But when you have somebody that can genuinely stick to him and switch with almost anybody on the floor as well to guard an elite score like that, it makes it so much easier. There's no one that I look at on the Mavs and I'm like, yeah, he can cover him one-on-one, and I'm not stressed. I'm not freaking out. The Mavs are not good defensively. They're only good offensively, and it's majorly because of the production that Luka gives every single night. So, yes, we expected this. We expected the Mavs to not play well enough to truly win the conference. I mean, it was as soon as the Warriors took that step and beat the Grizzlies, I think we all came to the conclusion that it's going to be Warriors versus whoever wins the East, like at this point.
Yeah.
So, yes, the Mavs can maybe win the game tonight. They're up, I think, 15. But it really doesn't mean much in the long scheme with how poor they are on defense compared to literally any other team that's left. Even the Warriors are better defensively, in my opinion. I mean, they at least have an all defensive player in Draymond, and Clay is an underrated defender in his own right, as well as Wiggins. So
another thing too is I think the Mavs have just got to be like kind of mentally drained at this point. I mean, I feel like after being down 2-0 in the Phoenix series to actually come back and win that series, especially with a road game 7, I mean, I feel like mentally they had to have thrown pretty much everything in the kitchen sink at like winning that series. And then you get to this series and you're like, okay, what's left to throw? You know, like everybody is probably just drained, exhausted. I mean, Luka, I just don't think mentally can go out there and fucking like realistically expect himself to score like 48 and 10 and win every night. I mean,
and then make it go all 7 games now and have it be, a shorter rest period till the finals, So not only would he have to come back, the
Mavs got to go 4 straight if they really want to get to the finals. But I don't think I think it's like there's this statistic of teams that have been down 3-0, and it's like 0 and like 167 teams that actually make it past going down 3-0. So realistically, the Mavericks season's over.
I mean, it's not like Luka's a bad player. I mean, Luka is still, in my opinion, is probably the most valuable player in this playoffs to their team at this point. I understand what we talked about last episode. I'm not trying to get into another argument, but that's how I felt. But it's not like he's this physically imposing player on another team. He's just a good player. And it's not like you have Giannis, who every night can make the other team feel like they're drained. When you're playing against Luka, it's more we need to guard him. Against Giannis, it's more like we need to stop him, like with everything we have in our like power to do. So when you're playing against the Mavs, we need to stop Luka and just let all the collateral damage after that. With Giannis, it's consistently just pounding. Your body gets drained. And I feel like the Warriors aren't drained because of who they're playing. And so the Warriors are just going to keep doing what they do. They're going to keep scoring. Oh, you throw up another shot. Cool. We're going to score again. It's really just down to that at this point.
Yeah, I think I'd go as far as to say that Luka has cemented himself as anywhere from a top 3 to 5 player in the league.
Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong to say that at all.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't get over how much that dude be flopping around. I just cannot stand flopping. That's why I think Marcus Smart is a bitch made cat. But yeah, no, he's a dog. He's got a fucking bag. it's crazy watching that dude play because he literally plays like slow.
At his own pace.
Like, he moves around so slowly, but it's just like unstoppable.
You can't slow him down. You can't speed him up. You can't really make him uncomfortable when he has the ball unless you try and trap him, unless you try and bring a double team. And usually the star player is going to find the open shooter and hopefully they knock it down.
Oh yeah. Well, hey, speaking of Luka, he is one of 5 players who have been named to the All-NBA first team. All-NBA teams were announced today, and headlining the first team, we have Devin Booker of the Phoenix Suns, Luka Doncic of the Dallas Mavericks, Jason Tatum of the Boston Celtics, Giannis Antetokounmpo of the Milwaukee Bucks, and league MVP Nikola Jokic of the Denver Nuggets. I don't really have any gripes with this first team.
It's a good list. I was actually really, really surprised to see Book on that list. I mean, he played like an all NBA first team guy in the regular season. And, he was a reserve, but, still first ballot, pretty much all-star. It's just, it was just a shocking thing to see, but it's good. It's good for him. It's good for the organization. It's good for the long run. He's already been in league for this was his 8th year. He's going to be going into his 8th year, and dude's like 25, 26. So
that's crazy. Going on to the second team, Ja Morant, Memphis Grizzlies, Steph Curry, Golden State Warriors, DeMar DeRozan, Chicago Bulls, Kevin Durant, Brooklyn Nets, and Joel Embiid of the Philadelphia 76ers. I am very surprised that Embiid is second team.
Yeah.
Yeah, personally, I think that statistically, as far as averages, Embiid had a better season for sure. But I would say with the fact that he wasn't healthy for all 82 games for the most part, as Jokic was, I'm understanding of it. But personally, the most surprising thing about all 3 of these All-NBA teams is DeMar DeRozan. Like we knew DeMar DeRozan was hooping, but I wasn't really thinking that he was going to be a second All-NBA team, and that's great for him. That's great for what the Chicago Bulls can build on going into next season.
Second team.
Lose that mean. So.
Yeah.
I feel like it's one of those scenarios with Embiid that it just sucks because they really only do pick one center for each team.
Yeah.
And he drew the short end of the stick. I mean, at this point, you could put both of them on first team and take, honestly, either forward out, Giannis or Tatum, switch them to that other team, and you can call it a day. But with the position being how it is and how strict they are with the voting, he had to slot in. You had the MVP for the first team. You got the runner-up for the second team. It only makes sense, but it still hurts. Like it honestly should be him on first team with somebody out, finding a way to put him on there. But I think, honestly, the biggest thing for me is, I mean, I know I'm a Celtics fan. I could rave about Tatum making the team. I'm happy, but it feels weird not seeing LeBron on either of those 2 teams. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand he was out for a good amount of time, but when he was still in, it wasn't like he was all of a sudden not the best player on the floor. He is genuinely, in my opinion, still the best player in the league. He's LeBron. I mean, I know he didn't put up.
He's bitch made, but he can still hoop.
Yeah, he can still hoop. He's that guy. It's not like he's playing at a subpar level. He's still playing at amazing levels, and he's still honestly in that conversation for first or second team, no matter what year he's playing, even if he's in his 40s. I mean, it's I don't know. It just felt weird. It was I didn't know how to react, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it's the start of a new era in sports. I feel like all around sports in general, the young guys have officially taken the league by storm, have grabbed fan bases, by the shoestrings, and really made fan bases fall in love with the younger guys. going down to this third team here, we got Chris Paul, the Phoenix Suns, got Trae Young, the Hawks, got LeBron on third team. You got Pascal Siakam and Karl Anthony Towns. But a lot of young guys in this All NBA, especially on first and second team.
Oh yeah.
Are any of those players on the first and second team in their 30s, except for KD? I know KD is in his 30s.
Curry.
Embiid, I think.
Yeah.
And DeMar.
I think
Is Embiid really that old?
I don't think Embiid's 30 yet.
it might be like 20.
KD, Curry, and DeMar are the only three, I think, in the first two teams.
I
And then
forgot
even if you
DeMar's
include the
that old.
third team,
I always
CP3
think
and
he's like
LeBron.
in his 20s still. Every time I see him.
Yes, Embiid is 28.
28? Yeah.
I think Giannis is 28 too.
No, it makes sense.
But yeah, definitely a bit of a youth invasion on these all NBA teams. It's cool to see though. It's fun to see like these guys who get drafted in like the top 5 of the draft, like actually be a notable presence in 2 years, as opposed to like maybe back in the old days, kind of more of like a 5-year development plan before these guys really start like making a name. So it's fun. I think
Really enjoying it.
it's so trippy that like legit NBA superstars in some cases are like our age.
Yeah.
So
You know what I'm
weird.
saying?
So weird.
LaMelo.
Trips me the fuck out. Yeah, LaMelo Ball, Ant Edwards, bro.
Jeez. Zion. Chet soon.
Yeah, facts. They're about to be younger than us, bro.
Yeah.
That's insane. But
That would be cool.
oh yeah. Any final thoughts on current NBA action?
Honestly, I'm excited for the championship. I'm really there already. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
whether the Celtics
Mhm.
win or lose, whoever goes for the East, and then obviously we all feel the Warriors. It's gonna be a fun champion. Like,
Yeah, it's gonna be a good battle for the Warriors this year. You know, I
Mhm.
feel like it's kind of like the Warriors Raptors series.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, besides the fact that Warriors aren't on the fucking 4 finals in a row type run going up against like, oh wow, the Raptors are going to the finals. Damn, you know, it's kind of like
Yeah.
one of those things, you know, where like when the Nationals went to the World Series, who would have thought you would see the Nationals in the World Series? You know, it's just like this is a weird looking thing, you know, like
One
football.
word or
Yeah,
2
exactly.
words. Kawhi Leonard.
So
That's why the Raptors.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, but I don't know, man. I think teams in the East can get it done this year.
If
I'm
one of
really
them
hoping
East teams
so.
wins the chip, maybe we'll do a little lunch table trophy presentation.
We'll give it to either Saya or Dimaj in a full Celtics or Heat uni.
Yeah, we'll get some champagne
The
and
shorts,
confetti and
the
do a whole
jersey,
big
and
thing.
everything.
The
Yeah,
goggles.
the goggles.
Yeah, get some goggles on. That would be funny.
Get a little backdrop.
Yeah.
Lunch table.
But yeah. All right. Well, that will lead us into a got a special new thing here, introducing a new segment to Lunch Table Sports. We're gonna call it the Lunch Table Top 10. All right. This will be a weekly top 10 list made by one of us. And I'm kicking it off this week. In the first week, we're gonna run down the top 10 worst sports fans. All right. And that's kind of a broad term. It applies to more than just like fan bases. So kick it off with a little honorable mention here. We got reverse homers. Now, this is anybody who resides in the city of their favorite team's biggest rival. All right. You got Bears fans living in Green Bay. You got fucking Boston fans living in LA. Just anything that revolves around that. You're just an L man's if you're doing that. You deserve to get shit. Right. So moving into the list now, number 10, we got Dodgers fans straight up.
Oh my god!
Straight up, we got Dodgers fans.
I went to so you guys know my dad and I do a tour thing for NFL and MLB for the stadiums.
Yeah.
So we went to opening weekend, the year Nats won the World Series, so the year before COVID, 2019. We went to Dodger Stadium opening weekend playing the D-backs. So we sat in right field. First of all, right field bleacher seats, absolutely terrible. There's let's say, for instance, 30 seats in a row, there's 45 people.
Gotta
The
squish
the food in right field is free. So whatever you get there is free, which is lit. But that night there was a fight between Dodger and I don't know if it was two, I think it was two Dodger fans. Two Dodger fans got into a fight. One died.
God damn.
Wow.
Smacked his head on the
that is
concrete.
fucked.
Got slumped, smacked his head on the concrete, died. Happened
Wow.
not too long ago, too,
Dodgers fans just really think they're shit, and they think their team is the shit.
Dude, same thing happened. I don't know if it was in Dodger Stadium or in Petco Park when they were playing the Padres. Same thing happened. Got into a fight with a fan, got knocked out, smacked his head on the ground, died.
All right,
Dodgers
not only
fans are
are they
crazy.
arrogant,
What
but
the
fuck?
they're fucking killers.
Yeah, murderers.
Yeah. Sorry, Tyus, go ahead.
Yeah, Dodgers fans. If I were doing a revised list, I'd move you up after learning that information. Moving on to number 9, we got unironic WNBA fans. All right. Now, if you actually support the WNBA and enjoy watching WNBA games, you are an L. Like, do you fuck with underwhelming, not professional looking basketball? I mean, that's just an L. I think a WNBA ticket is the same price as a Big Mac. I'll take the Big Mac 10 times out of 10. I'm getting more enjoyment out of that. So, yeah, unironic WNBA fans, suck a dick. All right. Moving on to number 8, we got Bears fans who still talk about 1985.
All right.
That one doesn't need much explaining.
Bro, you need to do this every week, dog. I'm fucking dying. Oh God.
Yeah, no, Bears fans who still talk about 1985. I mean, Ditka, maybe the most overrated head coach of all time. Just putting that out there. I mean, who was the real head coach of that team, Ditka or Buddy Ryan? You tell me. Yeah, moving on to number 7, fans of trash teams who start running their mouth after one big win. I'm looking at Jacksonville after week 18 last year. Okay, cool. You beat the Colts. Guess where you're still drafting? First overall. All right. The fucking, like, if you're an Orlando Magic fan, you should not have been said a word for the last 12 years.
Like
Pretty much.
Fans, like Pelican fans to Suns fans and
yeah, on God.
Or like when New York, when the Knicks made the playoffs and beat Atlanta once.
Yes. Got one game and they started running their mouths.
Fuck Trae Young.
All right, moving on to number 6. We have Warriors fans who became a fan after 2013. Tell me who Baron Davis is. I bet you can. Fucking who's Chris Mullin? Tell me that. I bet you can't. So moving on to number 5, quote unquote fans who aren't up to date. That is one of my biggest pet peeves when I see like a fellow Packers fan and they're like, did you hear we got rid of Clay Matthews? Yeah, in 2018. Heard about that one, bud. I took my dogs to the vet. I took my dogs to the vet, and our vet is a Packers fan. And he was like, so what do you think of the Packers? And I was like, yeah, I think we're going to be pretty good, but losing Devontae is hard. And he was like, we lost Devontae Adams? Yeah, dude, months ago. So yeah, if you're going to call yourself a fan, you better be the fuck up to date. Moving on to number 4, getting into the top 4 here, Cowboys fans.
Yeah,
straight up.
Self-explanatory. Yep.
Dude,
I'm not even going to explain that one.
Not even.
Yeah, enough said.
Another thing, dude. First NFL stadium I went to, other than this, other than the Cardinals, was the Cowboys.
Jerry World.
And did somebody else die?
No. It was,
okay, I thought that was about to happen again. I was like, Dilly, you gotta stop going to these games, bro.
So Carson Palmer was our quarterback, but Tony Romo wasn't playing for them. It was Brandon Whedon who was playing that game. So Cardinals won. We leave the stadium, and this Cowboy fan, she's like, "Oh my God, if I hear 'Let's go Cardinals' one more time," my dad goes up right in her face and screams, "Let's go Cardinals!"
Brett the Threat.
Yeah, Brett the Threat, the legend. So yeah, Cowboys fans there's good ones. I have a Cowboys fans. All of our good friend Troy's a Cowboys fan. So.
He's a bum.
Yeah, I'm painting with a little bit of a broad brush here, but who cares? All right, moving into the top 3. Number 3, this is a big one here. Old head NBA fans. Shut the fuck up. Moses Malone could not hang in today's NBA. Everybody in the 70s and 80s was coked up. And these days, players are spending 6 figures a year just on their body. Like, shut up. Any player today could dominate back then, and very few from back then could dominate today. And that is pure fact.
God. Bro, dude, I work at a casino, and I have little TVs everywhere. And I was watching the Suns game, one of the round 1 games. And this dude comes up to me. He's like, "You a Suns fan?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "I like the Suns too because of Charles Barkley." I was like, "Oh yeah, cool." And then he goes, "What kind of shot was that? You need to watch some Larry Bird."
I'm like,
what?
The physicality back then.
Larry Bird.
Yeah, the physicality. Like, shut the fuck up. It was 6'5" white dudes hitting finger rolls. Honestly, bro. I mean, like, fucking, if the sky hook was the most dominant shot in the whole league, you know we got a problem. I'm sorry, but so yeah. Number 3, old head NBA fans. Like, sit the fuck down. The league is way more advanced than it ever was back then. Grow up. All right. Top 2. Number 2, Yankees fans.
Yep.
Oh God!
If there is one fan base that I cannot
Still
stand,
got
it's
them
the Yankees,
rings.
bro. Them Yankees, bro. The Yankees are the Cowboys of the MLB. Take away 2009, and the Yankees are literally the exact same team as the Cowboys, just of the MLB. Like, they act like they're the hottest pile of shit in the yard, and they're not. They have not been consistently successful since the 90s. Yet any Yankees fan is just walking around with their fucking New York confidence. Like they're they're batting third in the lineup for them. Like, no, the Yankees are trash. They spend more money than anybody else, and they've got 1 ring in the last 25 years to show for it.
Yeah.
All right. And then number 1 of Big Tice's worst sports fans of the Boston Celtics.
I knew this was coming. How you gonna take 2 shots at me in the same episode?
Marcus Smart. Fuck Jimmy Butler.
Pass the ball.
You gotta
Give it to
pass
Jason
the rock.
Tatum. Give it to Jason Tatum.
Jimmy Ball
That's
gets
an
nothing.
effing foul.
I don't like this because this is really how I be sounding when I watch these damn games, bro. I don't like that shit, bro. I read first you brought up the 85 Bears, bro, and that's all I gotta hold on to. I'm even alive for that shit.
It's not twice in the same episode, but twice in the same list.
Literally twice in the same list, bro. Not even the same
segment.
episode.
First ever
Same
lunch
list.
table top 10 list, and he's on your head twice.
Bro, I can't.
I do apologize for the ricochet shots.
like you started with that shit and you ended with that shit. Like, I was just caught in the crossfire, bro. God damn it.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the first installment of the Lunch Table Top 10. All right, moving on to some pro football news. The Cardinals, it has been announced that the Arizona Cardinals will be featured on this season's series of Hard Knocks in Season, HBO's Hard Knocks in Season, which should just be pure entertainment. JJ Watt, that dude's a walking motivational speech.
Literally.
I'm really excited for some meme potential, just like shots of Kyler Murray standing amongst other normal sized people. That should be really funny.
Dude, you're just on a tear right now.
Poor dude's like 5'9". He's not that short.
But yeah, no, that should be really exciting. Hollywood Brown, another big personality coming in the building there. I didn't really get too into last year's in-season Hard Knocks, mostly because I didn't really know about it. But should be exciting. I think the Lions are this year's like training camp team for Hard Knocks. So
who was it last year?
Last year the Colts were in season, and then I think the Cowboys were like the preseason.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, Dilly, you excited for that?
I am. You know, Cardinals back in 2015 hate to bring it up, Tice, for you. NFC Championship run when we got obliterated by the Panthers. But we went 13-3, you know, the whole shebang with, you know, Larry Fitz happening against the Packers, blah, 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 blah. We had a show of our own, just like Hard Knocks, called All or Nothing on Amazon Prime. Cardinals also have their own little show, like behind the scenes show like that on YouTube. So, I mean, it's just another one of those, but I'm excited, you know, I'm just, you know, because I'm such a diehard Cardinals fan, you know, it's fun to always see what, you know, happens, you know, other than games, obviously, you know, you get to see what happens at practice, at film, you know, when the coaches are mad, when the coaches are cool, you know, when players fucking fight each other, all that shit. It's cool to see, you know, their everyday lives in season.
Yeah, definitely. I think it'll be interesting too, because like, especially how the Cardinals season ended last year. It's just like, that'll probably be a big storyline of like, you know, just that bulletin board material.
Yeah.
So, oh yeah. Other NFL news, the Ravens have added to their star-studded secondary, picking up, I believe, a former Pro Bowler in Kyle Fuller. DiMaggio, he made a Pro Bowl, right?
Pro Bowler, pretty sure he was all pro as well in the 2018 season.
Obviously, I mean, he's not that same caliber player, at least last we've seen of him with the Broncos. He wasn't really that same Pro Bowl caliber player, but he's still a very solid, serviceable corner, a good, you know, veteran.
Yeah, he's not going to need to he's not going to be asked to play at that all-pro level when their secondary is stacked with guys like Marcus Peters, Marlon Humphrey, him, new draftee Kyle Hamilton. There's going to be a lot of help around him. So
that Ravens secondary is looking really scary.
Yeah, that
Ravens set is terrifying. That dime set is terrifying.
Terrifying. Yeah.
And then they also got Deshaun Elliott and I believe Anthony Averett still.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a really nice secondary if they can all stay healthy, obviously, because we know what happened last year.
Yeah, unfortunately.
That's maybe why they added a little depth.
Yeah. I be watching a lot of Darius Butler content. He like comes on the Pat McAfee show and he's got his own podcast, and you know he's like a 10+ year NFL vet, defensive back. He always preaches that you need to have 5 starters in your corner room.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, nothing wrong with taking a step to get closer to that number, I guess.
Yeah, they might have 5 starters already in that.
My God.
I don't know what happened. They went from having dudes that I've never heard of before, I didn't even know they played football before, to players that are all across the board, all pros, Pro Bowlers, and they're not even starters right now.
Oh yeah, another thing with the NFL, I didn't have this written down, but I just thought of it right now. Justin Herbert is reportedly up to 245 pounds, so lock your doors at night. Because this dude is walking around at 6'6.5", 245. Like, he could fucking squeeze your head off and without even thinking twice about it. Like,
man, jacked.
That dude is going to be insane to watch, just going into year 3 now. Same with Mac Jones. I've heard reports that Mac Jones has showed up to the facility this offseason looking yoked.
Yeah, I heard, I forget who said it. I think it was Kendrick Bourne. There was a video on Twitter or something like that I saw. He said that he lost his belly, so he's not Fat Jones anymore. And I heard that he stayed working out at the facility with their strength coach the entire off season.
Really?
So
from Big Mac Jones to Snack Jones.
Yeah,
it's Big Mac Jones.
Big Mac Jones.
I guess so moving. I guess he's moving better too. So I don't know.
Oh yeah,
I'd be just terrified to see Justin Herbert running
yeah.
For once, you look at Josh Allen and you're like, that's a pretty big dude running the ball. Okay, cool at quarterback, but now you got 6'6", 245 running just as fast, if not faster, in the open field.
Dude is bigger than most linebackers.
Yep. Yeah. Bigger than most NFL players as it is. I mean, shit. You could be defensive end if you wanted to. Put on 10 more pounds, you'd be solid.
Oh, that's a tight end right there.
That's a tight end. Yeah, I was gonna
literally.
Him and Josh Allen, bro, they're changing the mold for like what teams are looking for in a quarterback. Like it's not just about like the skills anymore. Like if there's a guy out there who is 6'7", 250 and can like run around the field and throw it 80 yards, that's all you need. I mean, you can develop the rest. It's just like it's really changing the way I feel like scouts are analyzing like and valuing different quarterback traits and skills and stuff. But Justin Herbert, Josh Allen are both either one-time or multiple-time Pro Bowlers. And speaking of the Pro Bowl, the NFL is talking about doing away with it, which would actually be answering most fans' requests over the last couple of years with how terrible and like unenjoyable the gameplay actually is. So there's kind of been a conversation going around about different alternatives that the Pro Bowl could be replaced with. What are y'all's thoughts on that? Any ideas for something that could be implemented?
Just bring it back to Hawaii. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, facts.
I like the 2000s version with all like the I know we have like the mini games now, but like the lifting comps and the racing comps, like just seeing the like actual, literally like the athletic and like the actual stuff that we want to see, like just giving these players a platform to show how athletically gifted they are in every capacity is just fun in its own right to watch. So that's why
all I have to say is that if the NFL walks out there and throws another Pro Bowl like last year, no one is going to watch that. They're not making any revenue off that Pro Bowl. And I also feel like part of that is Pro Bowl jerseys, not fire. Yeah,
exactly.
Everything about the Pro Bowl needs to be one of a kind for the most part, and you can always reuse. You can always redo the mini games, the challenges, the competitions. You can always do that, but always have new players. Get literally what DeMarzio said. Allow these players that we don't get to see probably like most of the time because they're not all on nationally televised scheduled games to really showcase who they are, what they do, and what they're about.
Oh yeah. I feel like another thing too that would really, I feel like it would be good for the Pro Bowl and it would be good for the players would be like doing more, not necessarily like directly athletic related things. I mean, like I heard somebody today throw out the idea of getting all the linemen, all the offensive and defensive linemen, and split them up into teams and have them do a big like cooking competition, like smoking ribs and stuff and like barbecuing, and you mic them up, you give them some ice cold beers, and you make it a whole like hour-long ESPN thing. I think that would be so entertaining. You give these players a chance to show off their personalities and be funny and do more than just fucking like throw heavy weight around and chase a ball, like with the social media era and how much players like work on their brands. I feel like that would be a great showcase of like player personality and brands. If we're doing like mic'd up things, that's kind of just more like camaraderie based.
And like shows the personality of other players, like around other guys,
I think that would be fun because like you see like mic'd up bits every week from NFL films, and like these dudes are funny. They're like cracking jokes. Like I used to love watching Zadarius Smith mic'd up on game days. Like the dude is always just like got a smile on his face and cracking jokes and like being goofy. I mean, put some beers in him and get him smoking ribs and talking shit. That would be A+ television. But I mean, even just more than that, like benching competitions, kickers doing like field goal duels, like backing up 5 yards every time. Just anything that can really generate some good shit talk, I feel like would just be entertaining content,
Yeah, I feel like what fans are searching for is not really them needing to show off their athletic abilities, because we can see what they do, we can see the production they put up, and most of those players are probably on the better half of the 16 of 32 teams in the NFL, so more than likely we're either fans of them, but show us that they're humans too, and we can be relatable, because when you start like being relatable to the average citizen. Everyone else was like, oh wow, like they're actually cool. Like they're human. They experience some of the same things I experience. So make it more relatable.
It kind of makes me think of my family did a fantasy draft a while back, and my mom was in it, and she knows absolutely nothing about football, absolutely nothing. And her draft was solely based off of which player in the top 5 had the best smile. And for people that don't watch the sport in particular, having that aspect to show the personality like you guys are talking about just gives people that don't watch the sport a chance to actually enjoy and maybe get into the sport. Actually feel something like, oh, I like this guy. Maybe I want to watch him play. Or, oh, these guys are funny for this team. Maybe I'll start watching their game, supporting that team. Yeah. It gives a chance for people that aren't natural like watchers of the game to start to like gravitate towards certain aspects.
Hey, Dimanche.
What's up?
Was your mom's first pick Jimmy G?
Actually, it was Cam Newton.
No, that's facts though, Dimanche, because like if you think of like the pre-internet social media era, like I bet you there were so many Magic Johnson fans in the 80s who never watched one lick of basketball, because like if there was anybody to do like a player profile on the news or on ESPN, it was Magic Johnson. He had that like charismatic smile. Everybody loved him. He was like a larger than life figure. And I feel like that same kind of draw could happen for a lot of people who aren't even sports fans like that, just because like you see a personality that you can gravitate towards, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think it would be a good opportunity for the NFL to really expand kind of their reach and also allow the players to expand their brands and just overall like who they are. So yeah, I think there's plenty of great alternatives to an actual game, because I agree, you know, we get 14 games a week for 18 straight weeks. I don't really think anybody's really craving a fucking actual 4-quarter football game like that, you know?
Yeah.
Just make it some fun events.
And a lot of NFL players are, you know, are half-assing it anyways, because there's a possibility of risking injury. And we've seen how fast or how easily it is to, you know, tear an ACL. We saw like almost like anywhere from like 8 to 12 ACL tears 2 years ago, and that year was a really down year for the NFL.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think the NFL should hire us to be the like Pro Bowl committee, throw together
directors of the Pro Bowl. That'd be dope.
Yeah. That would be so sick. We just got to get it to Hawaii. If they, I mean, make it a 5-hour long speech about the Pro Bowl. Just put it in Hawaii and it would be lit.
Get him in Hawaii cooking kebabs and
wearing lays,
throwing coconuts and stuff.
Some lays, some wheat. What do they call it? Some palm leaf.
Yeah,
some palm trees.
It's just cool. Skirts. I mean, like. How many NFL games a year does fucking Miami get, or Arizona get, or LA get? So many. How many NFL games does Hawaii get? Zilch. Like it's cool. It provides like variety and like just something that's visually different, you know?
If you also think about it, it's also like the off season for all the players that didn't make it to the Super Bowl. So technically it's a vacation in itself.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. It should be treated like that. Like fly the players out like a whole like week and a half before the Pro Bowl. Even, and just like let them fucking chill down there. Keep cameras and microphones on them. I mean, you'll get good content, whatever you do with that fucking big group of players.
Yeah,
exactly.
But I think that's all I got for NFL. Anybody else got anything to add or any final closing thoughts?
Thoughts and prayers for all the families that were affected in the Texas shooting.
Yes,
that's a fact.
Just heard about that.
Steve Kerr.
Yeah, Steve Kerr.
Steve Kerr went off in that.
I saw that.
His dad was killed by gun violence in '84. So he obviously got some strong thoughts about that topic.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Rightfully so, man. I feel like as a generation, as a country, we're failing our children's, and even when you look at some of our parents, they maybe feel like they have failed us in the fact that some of us, like, and depending on where you live, some of us are afraid to go to school, and that should be one of the safest places to be. You know, is get an education, Have fun with your friends. It's really your first it's your first chance to experience other cultures, other people, and really find out what you like in yourself, what you like about other people, it sparks a whole lot of things that that you do later in life.
Mm-hmm. It also sucks because I believe it was middle school and
elementary school.
Elementary school. It was even elementary school, and there was only a few weeks left. There was only a few weeks left of school. You know, it could have been a huge thing for all the fifth graders moving up to middle school, all that stuff. You know, it just sucks.
Yeah. All I can say is it's a crazy fucked up world we live in sometimes, but we can control the things we do. And so I encourage everyone watching to fucking call someone you love and tell them that, you know, unless the person you're calling is an unironic WNBA fan. We'll see y'all next week.